Anu matirin להתפלל עם העבריינים. We tell ourselves as we arrive at Yom Kippur that solidarity and unity is more important than anything else, yeah? That being together with one another and being able to join forces together to lift one another up, to be greater than the sum of our parts, that's the key, yeah? Otherwise, we're with sinners, right? But we have to change our perspective, because when we say that, who do we mean? We're not saying you. I give myself permission to be with you as a sinner. We're saying all of us together are vulnerable, all of us together are fragile, all of us together arrive with our humanity exposed. There's no suit that you could buy, no jewelry that you could wear or makeup that you could put on that would ever in any way, shape, or form hide the truth of your humanity as you show up in the full beauty of your reality, of who you are. So we wanted to let that sink in now, not wait until Yom Kippur. Let's start now thinking about that. But before we go deeper on that, let's just talk about seating, because we had to get seating out of the way here. Talk about seating. Because there's something about seating on the high holidays that's vital. Many a synagogue has broken apart because of seating. True? I'm seeing some like, yeah, of course, yeah, I know. Every shul has every synagogue has the places where you sit. And in fact, now that I'm at the 92nd Street Y, there's a big controversy over there, because this year is the first year where they don't have assigned seating. I mean, for me, when I went to Israel for the first time and I found out that you went into a movie theater and there were assigned seats, it was a shock. It was a culture shock. You have to, because otherwise they'll fight, chaos, it's crazy. So seats are such a big deal. And getting the right seat is a big deal. You have to, when Roma, before we got to this space, and we were up on 105th Street for the high holidays, people would get there early and put 5 prayer shawls over an entire row. You gotta make sure you have the best seat in the house. Even in a place like this where every seat is a good seat, you gotta have the best seat in the house. Seating is so vital. I mean, you get on an airplane, the first thing they want to tell you is, do you want to move? Do you want to upgrade your seat? So no, I'm really great. I have a great seat. No, but you can get more leg room. Everything is like seats. Anybody here was anybody at the US Open this year? So one of my favorite things at the US Open was to go to the US Open and you start wherever you start. Some of you might have started in the right place, but I would start wherever I was starting. And hopefully by the end of the match, I was near courtside. Anybody? I know I'm the only one. I'm the only one. Is the camera on? I mean, wait a second. Seats are getting the right seat is key. On Rosh Hashanah, we talk about seating too. From a theological perspective, the image of a seat is a vital trope in Rosh Hashanah. We sit here today after much preparation and waiting, expectation. Maybe some of you came running to Rosh Hashanah, maybe some of you came limping, maybe some of you came dragged and pulled by someone. But you arrive at Rosh Hashanah, and we have a whole slew of experiences and images that color our ideas of what the high holidays are all about. At the core of what this thing is all about, what you're doing here tonight is something that many of you are already doing in your lives, hopefully. And that's this thing called chuva. Teshuva or chuva. It means many different things. In modern Hebrew, it means having an answer. Unfortunate, because the process of tshuva is usually more about questions than answers, more about a beginning of a conversation than about the ending of one. The word tshuva is also connected to the word to return, lashuv. or hashava, to give back something that belongs to someone, to return a lost object. Teshuva in the religious sense is usually translated as repentance, but that has a really negative connotation and valence. And for the mystics in our tradition, chuva is attunement, to become attuned, to become aligned, to come out of a story that's not true, to become closer to what is reality. Teshuva is healthy, say the mystics. The soul wants to return to its place connected to God. Teshuva is bari, healthy. And for many of the mystics, teshuva is also the movement of the divided self towards a more whole self. A wholeness that includes divisions and ruptures, successes and failures. Wholeness and wholeheartedness are those states of being that form the underpinnings of courage, and courage is what it takes to do tshuva. It's not easy to make a change. It's not easy to be honest. And it's often not easy to be willing to give up your seat. It's not easy. Imagine somebody taps you on the shoulder here and says, "Excuse me, but would you mind moving over there? I've been sitting here for a long time. I got here early." The image of someone being moved from a chair is the prime image. It's the central image in the Gemara when the Talmud talks about what we're trying to do on Rosh Hashanah to God. In the imagery of the Talmud, God is sitting on kisei of din, like a judge sitting in the courtroom with a gavel. This image of our kind of throwing ourselves at the feet of the judge. The judge is all-powerful, all-knowing. That's an image that they use. And the work of Rosh Hashanah, say the mystics and say the rabbis, is to move God from kisei hadin to kisei rachamim. To move God from the seat of judgment to the seat of compassion. God has this good seat. We can call it karma, or the seat of cause and effect. The seat of strict justice says, no room here for compassion, no room here for generosity, no room here, only justice. But we try to awaken in God a sense of looking at us through an eye of forgiving and seeing how hard it's been for us, how difficult. And in many ways, that movement in God is a movement here in us. How do we move ourselves from our seats of judgment? How do we move ourselves from our seats of criticism, of cynicism, of despair, of it won't work again, I'm here, I've done the same thing over and again, here I am, Lord, knocking on your door with my same stuff. Is change possible? Even before we walk into our church, synagogue, church, whatever we're here in, we are already before the throne of judgment in our own heart mind. And so getting here is a big deal. Coming back tomorrow will be a bigger deal. To feel with someone is compassion. We ask God to feel with us, to be with us. Anne Lamott, people know Anne Lamott, the great author Anne Lamott. Yeah, love her. She writes, how come you can hear a chord and then another chord and then your heart breaks open? Like in this, right? You hear it when, anu matirin, like it's like, ah. The whole movement of these 10 days is to get our heart to crack open, to move from the seat of judgment, of all-knowing, of passing judgment on someone sitting next to you, on someone sitting behind you, on someone sitting behind the Zoom, someone at your home, someone in your past, someone who hasn't yet come into your life, to move us from a seat that says criticism, insufficiency, scarcity. That's the movement of Rosh Hashanah. And so we project it onto the world, say, God, you move from the judgment seat. And God says, how about you? Let's see you. You're gonna give up your seats over there? You got box seats, it's great. You're judging everyone. You know every answer to every solution. And the only reason you're here in shul this year is to make sure the rabbi says exactly what you already thought. Oh good, he gave the sermon about Israel that I needed to hear because they need to hear it too. So Rosh Hashanah is like, how movable are you? Like, should we just get up and move seats right now? Should we just do that? Just like, okay, no, I'm kidding. Some of you are thinking, oh no, I'm definitely not moving. Some of you are like, oh, it's a great prop in a sermon, but like, I'm not going. Moving from one perspective to another, being able to take ourselves literally and figuratively and move and try out a new mind every year. Compassion mind. So I guess this is the work of Rosh Hashanah that Mark Nepo writes about when he writes, compassion as feeling with another would have justice remove her blindfold and put her scales down. Perhaps instead she might stand between the violated and the violator with a hand on each of their hearts, deeply listening. Have people watched the show The Bear? Some of you, yeah. I'll never forget this moment where if people have not seen the show, just for a moment, I'm going to talk about it more in Yom Kippur, but the protagonist of the show, this amazing character, is carrying a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, a lot of wounds, a lot of story. And he's bringing it forward into his situation as a very talented restaurateur, very talented chef. And at one point, he acts in a way that he knows he shouldn't be acting towards this very talented chef that's working with him. And he says to her, in sign language, when you make a mistake, you do this, right? Forgive me, right? And haven't we said here for years, in the name of many of my teachers and others, that when we finally arrive at Yom Kippur and we do the confession, we're not beating our chest, but saying open, hey, me too, me too. Yeah, I sometimes fall like that too, me too. It's not easy to stay in alignment as often as possible. All of our instruments will be out of tune tomorrow morning. We'll have to retune, and we get one 10-day period a year to move from the judgment seat to the mercy seat, from a place where we are from the outside and move to a seat where we are both on the inside. So I don't know if you'll be coming back tomorrow and you'll sit in the same spot. I don't know. I certainly wish that I could come sit with you. We're kind of sitting here and you're sitting there, I don't feel that way. I feel like we're all sitting together in some remarkable way. This isn't a performance. I sometimes call it a pray-formance, but it isn't any of that. It's just all of us gathering together to see what it might feel like to upgrade our seat. From the seats in judgment section and move our way up into the more expansive room for your legs space called compassion, right? What might that look like? How long could you sit there before judgment would arrive and say, it's time to go back? Let's check your tickets. The beautiful thing about moving from the seat of judgment to the seat of compassion is that there's enough room in that section for everybody. And you can always come back. And so Hashem, in her blessing for us, the Shekhinah, the holy space of compassion that is infinite, That infinite archetype and presence says to us, each and every one of us, B'yeshiva shel mala, by the heavenly court, and also here below, all of us are in it together. Anu matirin, we release when we move together towards compassion. If by the end of Rosh Hashanah you feel your heart a little bit more open, more willing to look at what your life might need and what might be needed with others, then you're doing the work. If by the end of Yom Kippur you've already, your heart's wide open, you say to yourself, wow, God, let me sit in compassion seats as often as possible, then that's also the work. So al dat kahal, with your permission, al dat makom, and through the permission of the Most High, the one in all of us who unites us and binds us together. Let's sing one more time with Ariel. Al dat makom, the al dat kal, and sing it. It's Shabbos.
על דעת הקהל בשבעה של מעלה ובשבעה של מטה, על דעת המקום ועל דעת הקהל בשבעה של מעלה ובשבעה של מטה, אנו מתירים להתפלל עם העבריינים על דעת המקום ועל דעת הקהל בשבעה של מעלה ושבעה של מטה, על דעת המקום ועל דעת הקהל בשבעה של מעלה ושבעה של מטה, אנו מתירים להתפלל